Friday, December 18. All through the book of Jeremiah, all through the Bible, we are confronted with the question of good and evil. And as Christians, we know good from evil, because God has defined these terms for us in many different ways. In Romans chapter 7, verse 7, "What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Certainly not. On the contrary, I would not have known sin except through the law. For I would not have known covetousness unless the law had said, 'You shall not covet.'" And Micah chapter 6 verse 8, "He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." And Joshua 24 verse 15, "And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And Matthew 22 verses 37 to 39. Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbour as yourself." And Deuteronomy chapter 12 and verse 8. "You shall not at all do as we are doing here today, every man doing whatever is right in his own eyes." But what if you don't believe in God? How can you know good from evil? Well, atheist author Sam Harris has a suggestion. He wrote a book called The Moral Landscape, in which he argues that good and evil can and should be understood only in terms of science. That is, the same way that science has helped us understand the difference between the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force, it should help us know right from wrong and good from evil. He even speculates that science might one day cure evil. As he writes on page 109 of the Kindle edition of The Moral Landscape, How Science Can Determine Human Values, consider what would happen if we discovered a cure for every human evil. Imagine, for the sake of argument, that every relevant change in the human brain can be made cheaply, painlessly, and safely. The cure for psychopathy can be put directly into the food supply like vitamin D. Evil is now nothing more than a nutritional deficiency. End of quote. Most scientists, however, even those who don't believe in God, would have a problem believing that science can solve these problems. If, however, you don't believe in God, where else can you find these solutions? And that brings us to our two discussion questions for this week. 1, a quote from Book 1, page 118 of Selected Messages, "With us, everything depends on how we accept the Lord's terms." End of quote. Why is it a mistake to assume that salvation comes with no condition? Conditions are not the same things as works or something that gives us merit before God. How can we learn to differentiate between the false teaching of salvation by works, legalism, and the false teaching that salvation is non-conditional, cheap grace? And question 2. Dwell more on the difficult question at the end of Thursday's study. If someone says, "I don't believe in Jesus, I don't even believe in God, and yet look at how well my life is going. In fact, I would say that my life is going better than yours, and you're a Christian?" How would you respond?